Sleep deprivation has been shown to be associated with increased risk of strokes, of hypertension, of heart attacks, of insulin dysregulation, and also actually our metabolism overall. If you want to be a better team member or better team leader, then sleep is critical because executive function is closely linked to sleep. If you want to be someone who's able to think on their feet, able to remember stuff, able to come up with like incredible ideas, studies have shown again that memory consolidation and creativity is impacted by sleep. I'm a big proponent of having an environment that's conducive for sleep. So your environment should be cool, it should be dark, and it should be noise-free.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about sleep and how to improve the quality of your sleep. We're going to talk about tips to improve your sleep. And we are here with a very special guest. We are welcoming Dr. Brown, who is board-certified pediatric pulmonologist, sleep medicine physician, and the founder of Restful Sleep MD. She is awesome, and you will see why I'm talking about her in this type of manner. She's truly amazing, and let's talk about some tips. And before we do that, tell us why sleep. Why did you choose sleep as the as your career and the main thing that you're helping people with?
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. So, I would say that my relationship with sleep, we all do have that relationship, right? With sleep started from when I was in medical school, and my 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 deciding to neglect my sleep. And so, we used to wear sleep deprivation as a badge of honor, almost feeling like, yes, I only slept 4 hours of sleep, look at me. But I already could see the impact of that in my studies, in the fact that I had to work almost twice as hard to get the results I wanted. I was exhausted all the time. I was anxious. And, I kind of got through that. And then fast forward to, being done with medical school and then doing my training to be, as my subspecialty training. During that time, I had my kids. And so, that whole thing brings another layer of sleep deprivation where my son had reflux. And so something as small in that sense, as small as that, was enough to disrupt his sleep a lot. And so I had a combination of, I have a newborn who doesn't necessarily sleep well because they just wake and sleep all night long because they have a distorted sleep-wake cycle. And then he also now had reflux and was in pain. I would wake up crying. And so if your child is not crying, automatically you as the mom or the parent, not sleeping, then you are also not able to sleep. So that also added another layer of stress on me between caring for my child and trying to deal with his sleep issues, my sleep issues, yet trying to show up the best I could at work. And, and that really drove my decision to pursue a career in sleep medicine, because I realized that as moms, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We do. That's it. We take it. Then the society puts pressure on us, our obligations, and then the kids. And so then I was seeing patients in my clinic, and they would bring their children and say, well, he's coughing all night, or he's crying and up all night. And so I'm not sleeping. And so moms are not sleeping. They're exhausted as well. And so really this made me take a step back to say, wow, when I'm helping the children sleep better, by extension, I'm helping the parents sleep better. And so I really wanted to create the system where I could help them with my story, with my expertise and experience, improve their sleep, improve their children's sleep, so that everyone can thrive and do well. And so really that's how I founded Restful Sleep MD.
This is awesome. And it's so important also to relate, to understand, because you are helping people with such an important part of their life, and you actually went through probably some of the same problems. So, so that is great. So let's talk about some tips. What somebody watching right now, because we have patients or potential patients, we have potential collaborating partners, providers watching as well. Let's say they are making some mistakes. And what are your tips to better sleep, to improve their sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you Google how to sleep better, or Google sleep hygiene, or, you'll find so much. And one of the things I realized was it was overwhelming for my clients. It was like, where do I even start? And then they feel like, oh, I didn't follow this 20 steps, and so I'm never going to sleep well, and they just feel like they failed. And the idea about prioritizing sleep is not to create more pressure and stress on you, because if you stress, then you will not sleep. You cannot force yourself to sleep in the setting of stress in that sense. So I actually created an acronym, CREATE, which really comprises 6 evidence-based steps that you can start applying tonight to start to sleep well. And so if you follow CREATE, so C stands for having a consistent sleep time and wake time. Setting that really helps to cue your body, and really helps to cue your circadian rhythm, to really realize that this is when I'm supposed to be sleeping. And so you're essentially training your brain that way. And this should not shift on the weekends as well. So even on the weekends, even if you'll sleep in, I would say don't sleep in more than about 2 hours. The next R is routine. So have a routine at bedtime. And, I'm sure a lot of us have children that, you bathe them, you sing song, you put lotion and read a book, kiss them goodnight, and then they fall asleep. But for us as parents, sometimes we work, and especially my clients too, they're working on the computer and then they just hop into bed. And really, it makes it hard for your brain to disengage from work mode to sleep mode. So having that routine really cues your body and your brain that it's time for bed. Then after that, we have E, which is environment. I'm a big, big proponent of having an environment that's conducive for sleep. So your environment should be cool, it should be dark, and it should be noise-free. And we could talk a whole hour about why, but one of the things is related to the blue light and the melatonin production that your brain needs in order for you to go to sleep. Then A is assign your bed for sleep, and sleep only in bed. And I say this, it sounds intuitive, but a lot of people just, a lot of us are bringing our work into bed with us. So when you bring your cell phone into bed with you, you're bringing work into bed with you. Because now, because of technology, we have a 24/7 world and society. And you may be talking to someone and finishing up a deal in Japan where it's morning. Meanwhile, you're here trying to send that email or, post on social media and things like that. So your bed should not be your office. Your bed should not be your dining room. Your bed should not be your movie theater, So really assigning your bed for sleep and intimacy really helps, again, to create those associations that our brains need for sleep. And then T is tackle technology. Again, technology is a blessing. Look at us talking, Mike. I've not met you in person. I look forward to meeting you in person. Well, because of technology, now we could talk to people in different parts of the world. But that same technology could hurt us and hurt our sleep if we don't control it. So avoiding the cell phones, the TV, the video games about 30 to 60 minutes before bed, again, because it helps to ensure that melatonin production is abundant for you to sleep. When the blue light, when our brains see the blue light, it really has a hard time determining whether it's daytime or nighttime. And then the last but not the least is eliminate. So look at things in your diet, your habits, things that you can eliminate or avoid that may be impacting your sleep. So caffeine is a huge one. We are all just like a caffeine-driven society. And again, that's probably because a lot of people are sleep deprived. And so we go to caffeine to keep us up, but then it affects our sleep because it has a very long half-life, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. So really stays in your body, and it prevents you from getting into deep sleep, which you need. Then alcohol also is a sedative. It helps us fall asleep, but it doesn't help us maintain sleep, and that can disrupt our sleep as well. And then another thing I would say is eliminate things in your diet. So if you're eating a lot of large, heavy carbs right before bed, it does make it hard for you to fall asleep. So those are just tips that I come up with, really in those categories that are practical, they're evidence-based, and you literally can start doing them tonight.
I love it. And exactly tonight, I'm going to be thinking about it as well. I wanted to ask you about when we talk about elimination, what absolutely needs to be eliminated. And you know how people sometimes think is like, yes, I care about my sleep, but what actually is allowed, right? So what is possible for me to still keep from the routines that I had, and what needs to be eliminated? One of the things that I'm thinking about is, for example, in my case, I love listening to my mentors, podcasts, maybe a speech or something that is going to have a little bit of that positive psychology with learning that even if I'm not consciously listening to it, I'm going to subconsciously assimilate the information. And when I wake up, I think that I still have something like that assimilated, at least in part. So let me know if this is something that we need to give up. If we are not looking at the screen, but the phone is somewhere else, we are only listening with our earpods and maybe with our AirPods. And at some point, we're going to just wake up at night, put them aside. Do I need to eliminate it or can I keep it?
Question, Mike, you get to keep it.
Awesome. That is
The
great.
reason why is, you know, one of the things I also talk about. So in my program, we kind of go through every one of those acronyms and give practical strategies that are tailored to you. So for some people, listening to either an audiobook or a podcast, it can be part of your routine. So with your routine, you're looking for 2 to 3 calming and relaxing activities. So while I would not say, you know, listen to rock music just before you fall asleep, I think listening to something that has sort of more of a monotone, where there are not too many inflections and changes in frequency, is fine. And you can try what works for you. For me, you know, for some of the podcasts, if, for instance, at the end they have some blaring loud music, that might wake you up out of sleep. So maybe you want to avoid that. But something that's kind of even throughout is really calming and relaxing for you, then you get to keep it. The other thing is, some people are very sensitive to noise. And so some people can't handle just things being completely quiet. And so some other strategies I recommend is having like a noise machine. And that just kind of runs in the background in your room. So it kind of gives that humming sound throughout the night, or like an old fan. Some people just really enjoy having that as well. So sounds are helpful. It's just making sure that there are not too many inflections, because that can actually take you out of your deep sleep into light sleep as well. But overall, I'm a fan for listening to, you know, whatever helps you feel that sense of calmness before bed.
That is awesome that I get to keep it. That's great. I wanted to ask you, so let's say we are able to get all these habits aligned, and then we do enough, because I know it's hard to do 100% of everything, but we do enough to have the good quality of sleep. So what is the result of that in comparison to somebody who is just ignoring sleep completely, and then week after week, night after night, month after month, and maybe even year after year, they just ignore sleep? What would happen to the person with good sleeping habits and then with the person with very poor sleeping habits?
Yeah, I love that question. And so similar, I mean, I've walked it. So I definitely can share both from my experience as well as from being a sleep expert and someone who's really dedicated her life to studying this and studying how people's behaviors can be changed when they're empowered with the right information. I will say, let's start from top. I kind of like to work from top down. And also we can work from short term to long term. So just from the top, studies have actually shown that one of the functions of sleep is not just as a cure for sleepiness, right? Because if sleep was only a cure for sleepiness, there are ways we can sort of bypass that with, you know, caffeine and stimulants and making sure we're constantly activated. So it's not just a cure for sleepiness. It has both mental, physical, psychological, immunological benefits to our bodies. So right from the top, there's a system in our brains called the glymphatic system. It's similar to our lymphatic system that kind of helps purify and gets rid of byproducts. And what happens is, over the course of the day, over the course of periods of wakefulness, right, your brain actually releases this product that stays on the surface of the brain. It's called beta amyloid, and there've been studies now that have looked at this really closely. And so when you go to sleep, that system in your brain called the glymphatic system kind of washes over and gets rid of those products. And so what they've seen is those same products are actually present in the brains of people with Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. So it's almost like you have a drain that's clogged and you're not unclogging it when you don't sleep. And so you can imagine over time, then that will have an impact on your memory. That will have an impact on your executive function, the ability to make decisions quickly. It also actually can cause a lot of mood problems. And we know that anxiety and depression is at an all-time high now. And there's certain stages of sleep that really helps you with mood regulation, as well as creativity. So depending on what your goals are, like you are trying to shortchange yourself on sleep for what reason? So because I want to be more productive, or because I have so many meetings, or because I lead a team, or because I need to channel my creativity. I will tell you that evidence has shown that all those things can be affected by sleep. If you want to be a better team member or better team leader, then sleep is critical because executive function is closely linked to sleep. If you want to be someone who's able to think on their feet, able to remember stuff, able to come up with like incredible ideas, studies have shown again that memory consolidation and creativity is impacted by sleep. And then in terms of, our mood, right? I'm sure I as a person was extremely anxious, extremely just short. Everything made me very impatient when I wasn't sleeping well. And it led to, me having issues with relationships and things. So if you're someone who's looking to build better relationships, then sleep is really important too. And then with our physical health, all the way again from top to bottom, from our heart health, sleep deprivation has been shown to be associated with increased risk of strokes, of hypertension, of heart attacks, of insulin dysregulation, and also actually our metabolism overall. We've talked about people who have issues with losing weight sometimes, and if you're not sleeping well, you're more likely to have a hard time to lose weight than if you get good sleep, because two main hormones, it's called the leptin and ghrelin, they kind of flip their roles when you don't sleep well. And so the satiety hormone, which is your leptin, kind of goes low. And so you wake up and your ghrelin is up, and your ghrelin is that like hunger hormone. And it's like, I'm hungry. And one of the things I always tell people is, when you wake up and you're not able to sleep, executive function at times may already be not at its best. And so even if you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the fridge and get a snack, you likely are not going to go in and get a carrot. You're more likely to get a carrot cake. So the decisions you make, and imagine that you now get that, you eat, you go back to sleep, and insulin is not meant to be trying to help you with digesting food at that time, because you're supposed to be sleeping. And then in the morning, you're not motivated to exercise because one, you didn't sleep well, two, you're just feel like you're in a fog. And so then imagine that spiral and that vicious cycle: high insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, heart attacks, and then the list goes on. And then immune system actually is regulated by sleep. So anything from common cold, which studies have shown increased risk of common cold when you don't sleep enough, all the way to some cancers actually can be impacted by sleep. And then, short term, you're talking your memory, you're talking your mood, you're talking living in that fog and not being able to make those good executive functions. And then long term, we're talking a lot of the physical health implications that we might have.
So really a lot of consequences from not getting good sleep consistently. And I think in our group and in places like our group, in medical communities, in healthcare communities, this is pretty obvious. But for a lot of people, it's easy to just stop. I will call it stop brushing teeth, right? Because it's almost like these small habits that build up, right? So if we are not brushing let's say we forget to brush the teeth today, nothing probably will happen tomorrow. But if we stop brushing for a year, then most likely major problems are going to come. And I think it's very similar with sleep, not just, and maybe answer that question as well, if you don't mind, not just the quality, not just the quantity of sleep, but also the quality of sleep, right? What's more important, quantity or quality, or both?
That's a great question, Mike. So when I look at sleep, we're kind of looking at it in three categories. The quantity is a lot of times what we hear about. People say, get 7 to 9 hours, get 7 to 9. And that really varies, actually. Then we have the quality, which is that feeling you have when you wake up. Do you feel refreshed? Are there things that are disrupting your sleep? Are there things that are moving you out of deep sleep into light sleep? And we need that deep sleep. And then the third is the timing of sleep, which really at me is talking about more of an alignment with your circadian clock, right? There's some people that are night owls, there are people that are morning larks. And so really trying to go to sleep at the very right time for your body. So really we're looking at it from all those three pieces. And so, what are things that are affecting your ability to get good quantity of sleep? What are things that are affecting your ability to get good quality sleep? Is there a way we could shift your sleep timing to make sure that you're getting enough sleep at the right time? Really, I think it's very important to look at it from that holistic perspective.
I love it. And, sleep, because it's impacting pretty much every area of our life, and we're talking about our body, we're talking about our mind, it is very related to the major health problems that we talk about. So if there is a problem, if there is a patient with that problem that is going from doctor to doctor, even if they follow recommendations, they still don't get better, it can be very, very frustrating. One of the things that they need to change is sleep. And the same if there are providers watching here, that, if you have a patient who is not doing better, maybe sleep is the missing ingredient here in the health combo that needs to be addressed here. So what type of providers in terms of integrative health, because we talk about integrated medicine, we talk about integrative healthcare, what type of providers are the providers that you like to work with? And then where does your office and your services fall into like a very good connection? Because we want to make more introductions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I work with all providers because if you think about every system that I've listed, that wasn't even an exhaustive list. Every single organ system from the brain all the way down to the joints. So pain perception is impacted by sleep, and the ability to tolerate pain and your pain threshold is impacted by sleep. So I think and then, weight, diet, exercise, healthy lifestyle, mental health providers, we all have to not talk in silos. I love what you're doing, which is approaching this from an integrative, and a holistic perspective, and saying, wait, we're trying this thing, we're trying this diet regimen, we're trying this exercise routine, where we're working on all the mental health issues. You're seeing a therapist, you're on medication, and we're saying, okay, try and get some sleep, but we're not really prioritizing it with the actual strategies we need. Then we don't really get that result as much as we do. So there are three main pillars of health, right? It's sleep, it's diet, and exercise. So it's important to lay that foundation of sleeping well, because when you sleep well, you make better decisions for your health. When you sleep well, you have better motivation to exercise. When you sleep well, you make better decisions on how to eat right. And so really, your pain threshold, things like that, your motivation gets better. And so this is what I love to do. And this is how I support programs, actually, where I come in as a sleep expert, not just to say, get 7 hours of sleep because it's good for you, but saying, how do we tailor this for your specific needs, for your specific clients' needs, for your group's needs? How can we help to make sure we're taking you from the mindset limitations, the physical limitations, the environmental limitations, to getting you to that goal of, I need to get good sleep. And again, most people will not say, oh, my goal is to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Most people want to say, I want to feel invigorated. I want to feel energetic. I want to be able to, have time and the emotional capacity to spend time with my kids, to spend time with my spouse. I want to be a better team member. I want to build a multi-million-dollar company, but I'm exhausted. So how do we take you from where you are, which is exhausted, unmotivated, tired, and feeling defeated, to achieving those goals, making sure that sleep is being prioritized? I think that's really where I come in, and that's what I love to do, which is work with other providers to get them to support their clients that way.
I love it. And it's all kinds of providers that are in these categories. So from mindset to pain, like you mentioned, pain. So pain management doctors, and then other physicians that we are working with. I'm going to definitely keep you in mind. And if you're watching this and you can feel the passion of an amazing doctor like Dr. Brown, trying to help the world and help you with the resources that she has. Connect, ask questions in comments. Also follow us, follow our group, Polish Your Life. On, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook and other platforms, follow us because of amazing providers like Dr. Brown. So tell us, where can people find you, patients or providers, if they want more information?
Absolutely. So I am on the social media platforms. I'm on Instagram as Restful Sleep MD. I am on Facebook as well as Restful Sleep MD. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm more frequently on Instagram and Facebook though, but you'll also find me on LinkedIn. Then I have a website that really has a ton of valuable information, restfulsleepmd.com. And there you can connect with me either for one-on-one coaching, which is something that I enjoy and I'm so passionate about. And another way is I do also work with programs. So if you want to schedule a call to see how I can support support your client, support your program as a guest coach, a speaker, and things like that, I do provide those services. So if you do head over to restfulsleepmd.com, I think that's the best place to get started. And also, if you actually subscribe to my newsletter, I know I gave those tips. You can actually get a downloadable form, which you can then kind of tape on your fridge or something like that, that you can use to really start to get restful sleep tonight.
This is awesome. And thank you so much for today. I really appreciate you as part of the group. Welcome to the group again. And thank you so much for today's interview. And if you're watching, make sure that you keep in mind the 6 tips to improve the quality of your sleep from Dr. Brown. Follow her and have a good night's sleep. Bye.